Peace, everyone. Peace, peace. Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries Friday night Bible study. I'm Elder Jeffrey from the St. Louis branch, and I want to welcome everybody. And as you guys come in,
Hey,
and
peace,
others that I have also here with me, Minister Anthony, peace,
peace.
and Shelby.
Peace.
The starting lineup. Yes, yes, yes. And we're so excited about today. And as people join, Mr. Anthony, Shelby, how you guys doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. It feels good. I know we all been traveling, getting some exposure out there. So but I feel good today. I feel good. It's a nice hot day here in St. Louis.
Like nice is the right word to put there.
200 degrees.
3 digits. Yes, 3 digits here in St. Louis. I saw my thermostat go up to 104. 104, yeah, here in St. Louis, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But we're here, open up the word and hopefully edify. Peace, everybody. Peace, Veronica. Peace, James Gibb. Peace, Felicia. Peace, Elder Denise. Peace, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to like, to share. Send this link out to your friends and family.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times, that's a good way to just, you don't have to necessarily have the conversation, but just give them little crumbs here and there. And peace, Elder Tony. Good to see you. Peace, Elder Sophia. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. How about you, Shelby? How you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I'm trying to stay cool. It is so hot.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like I said earlier, I took my trash out and started sweating early in the morning. The sun wasn't even out yet. It is hot. So, but I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I'm excited about our lesson today for us to go back into Judges. It's been real fun. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And before we jump into it, I just want to definitely shout out to the Atlanta branch. They celebrated their 7-year anniversary of opening their newest branch there in Atlanta. So shout out to my Atlanta brethren. Minister Anthony, I know you were able to attend. How to give us a little quick glimpse of
it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Meeting so many of the people. Elder Shadrach was able to come down.
So Elder Shadrach was there. My goodness, yes.
That's always a treat, along with the some members from the Supreme Council, Elder Freddie, Officer Charmaine.
Nice.
We had, along with the Atlanta Council, it was just, oh man, we had so much fun, so much knowledge being going around. The seminar was awesome, right? Nice. And if I can say right, coming to a city near you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's open now, so no more shutdowns and things like that. And the virtual is definitely a great tool, great platform, but it's great that we're able to actually go out and meet people and be that light in the various areas that we travel. So thank you, God of Israel, for safe travels for everybody, and I pray that someone was enlightened by that experience. So it's a great milestone to acknowledge.
Oh, beautiful, and right. Going into the Sabbath and then right into it. Oh man, it was perfect. It was perfect. You couldn't ask for it better, right? It's like come on, 7-year anniversary. It's the 7th day, right? It was just perfect.
Yes. Good. Yeah, I can feel you on the high. So I want to spread that high with us. Yeah.
We want some.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, thank everybody for joining. As Shelby said, we are jumping into our 3rd installment of the Judges, and we're excited about what we have to speak about today. Again, like, share, donate, make sure and support what we're doing here. So, Judges of Israel, Volume 3 from the St. Louis branch. So, can you go to the next slide? And we were reviewing this. We were like, man, we want to be able to organize this in a way so that we don't have like volume 12, like so many volumes, and try to really, but at the same time, you don't want to just speed through it either. I think the discussions and delving into the fine print, I think, has really been enriching. That's the feedback I've been getting. That's what I've been feeling. So I want to keep that pace, but I also want to make sure we are, just don't just beat a dead horse, let's say, So for the one thing that we spoke about, you mentioned this, Minister Anthony, which I think was so pointed. A lot of times you may get one of these stories, maybe you've heard some of these stories before in other contexts or just by itself, which is great. You can kind of glean what happened and also the moral of the story, things like that from just the story by itself. But it is something to put it all together, to give it the context of the trajectory of what was happening at that time before and after, to kind of really put them into place. So I think that adds another dimension to it. So I highly recommend individuals, if you have not seen Volume 1 and Volume 2, watch those and be able to, sort of put yourself in that framework of what this chapter is really about as you move forward, and go through the various judges. That make sense?
100%. If I can, real quick, I'm sorry.
No, yes.
I need to shout out Elder Kurt. I don't know how I forgot about Elder Kurt being down there in Atlanta. Also, I want to
Kurt. Yes.
Shout out Jersey. Jersey was well represented.
Nice. I feel like I want to be on the radio so I can press the applause button.
Yeah.
Like,
I get one of those. Elder Kurt. Yeah.
Yes. Shout out Elder Kurt in the Northeast branch. Yeah. So
but no, I agree with you, Elder Jeffrey. It's such a it's easy because the way the majority of us have been taught the Bible has gone through those cherry picking those stories and kind of going through, and they isolate it and then blow it up to something that's significant, but it misses the mark almost.
Mm-hmm.
It completely misses the mark, right? Because when we even when we talk about judges, right? How is Deborah connected to Moses?
Right.
Right, or Moses to Abraham. And sometimes, and if we don't really take our time to really go get through it, then we don't really connect those dots.
Right.
Which is so important. It's so important when studying, especially learning history, our history at that we always have to make sure those dots are being connected so that the ball doesn't get dropped, right? Or will we look back and say, oh, wait, it doesn't have anything to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I really want to piggyback off of what Minister Anthony said, because when he said they piggyback stories, we learned something from this story. I've learned something from this story here recently that we're about to go into that I had never even, like, reading the Bible, I had never even thought about, had never even looked at. And that was just like the condition of our people at this time. Like I never realized what condition that they were in until we have broken it down and went through the scripture and read about it and talked about it. And now I'm learning. I'm like, oh my God, we were in a bad situation. Like this is probably one of the worst, or it's like it was horrible. So what he's saying is exactly right. For us to break it down and go slow, you said earlier, for us to just go piece by piece, not too slow, but just to go through it, it really hones in and teaches us something. So I enjoy that. I'm happy about that.
100%, and that's good. I think as we go through, a part of it too is not just looking at it from historical context, but looking at what can we learn so we do not repeat the errors of the past. And if we don't study it with that context, then how can we ensure not just what we're doing, but also what we plan to do for us later in 5 years, 10 years, in generations, our children, our children's children. Again, it's the scriptures are here for us to learn, and you can't learn from it by just you can't look at your textbook and just read a couple pages. You got to delve into it, right? You got to read it over and really see how chapter 1 relates to chapter 5 and chapter 3 relates to chapter 4. And build on that and master the material as much as possible, So let's get started. So I think we're preaching to the choir, and the overall theme is this really one slide right here. We could just put this slide up, go through it, and that's it. That's really what we're seeing, a cycle over and over again. As we've come and got the land, which the God of Israel told us and promised us would happen, that we would take over the land, a land flowing in milk and honey. Even though there were people there and giants and warriors and so on and so forth, we were able to be successful And as long as we served the God of Israel, everything went well. As soon as we started to deviate and follow other cultures and other customs, as you said, we did evil in the sight of the Lord, and that phrase is repeated too many times in the book of Judges. And God punishes us with enslavement. And in my journey, this was one of the aha moments when I started to understand, wow, God enslaves his people. Like we were enslaved. Maybe there's a coincidence. Maybe there's a connection there. We see that not once, not twice, but over and over again. Then we cry out. He raises up judges, and then we're delivered. And for a time, and some pretty good times. We've seen some times where we had peace for like maybe 80 years or 40 years or 20 years. And, but unfortunately, when the judge dies, we follow that cycle all over.
Yeah.
So, again, more details, we get into it deeper. We talk about why judges and just going through the deeper if you go in volume 1 and 2. But this is kind of the framework of what we see this pattern happening over and over again in the book of Judges. Mm-hmm. Can we go to the next slide? So just as a little recap, of some of the judges that we've already covered. Othniel, we covered Ehud, Deborah, Jael, and Barak. They're not judges, but it's interesting in that scenario. I guess it is unique, even when we complete and go through all the judges, where we have a judge and then we have a warrior, or warriors, kind of work together to take us out of our oppression. And so that's why I just acknowledge them as well, Jael and Barak. But again, go back to volumes 1 and 2, and you'll be able to see the details of their story and their role as judges.
Man, this artwork, I need it on the wall. Like this is beautiful. Like
AI.
Yeah, especially that Barak and Jael. Man, that looks like, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It is. All right, so let's jump into who we're speaking about today. Can we go to the next slide? Gideon.
Ooh.
Gideon. All right, and we're going to be jumping into Judges chapter 6, and we can just get started. I don't know. I can start. Judges chapter 6, starting at verse 1. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. Again. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. And because of the Midianites, listen to this. I want you guys to pay close attention to this. It speaks about the condition. And because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. And so it was when Israel had sown that the Midianites came out, and the Amalekites and the children of the east, even they came up against them, and they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude. For both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. Let that sink in a little bit. The condition that we were in. Thoughts?
The whole cycle of obedience is in that one reading right there that you just went through. Mm-hmm. The whole cycle is just like the whole cycle went in a circle. Except we're not delivered yet. So it's like half of the cycle. Yeah. It's all in one verse.
Verse 4 is scary, right? And they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come into Gaza, and left no substance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. Like, man, like, you talking about complete destruction.
Yes.
When you don't leave anything, not even for the, that's not a little chicken that can run out there and find something.
Yes.
Like, that is complete and utter, that's desolate. Like, that's, man.
Yes.
That's, it reminds me so much of, really just driving through neighborhoods in the U.S., right? You see just utter desolation, right? There's nothing there that will suggest that anybody should even live there or have anything to do with that. But yet there are people there.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, it just paused me in my tracks and be like, wow. I've pictured like vacant houses, trash. Just, man, that's rough.
Yes, yes. Felicia Singleton says living in caves, no food or shelter. I mean, I'm trying to put my mind around that, right? And like you said, I think to try to identify with in some of the communities, the Black communities in some cities, have this feel to it. And live, it's not literally caves, but it feels like that because it's abandoned buildings and it's just living conditions that are below substandard. And you're like, well, what happened? How is this possible? And so it's people who may not be in those parts of the country where they can see that may not really understand that type of devastation to witness and to see that. And it's when we read this, we read that this condition that we find ourselves in, it didn't come from some evil power. It was orchestrated by the God of Israel. And that's a concept that I think, that we sometimes find difficult because, he only does good things, right? But, he's upset at us for not following the culture. And then we see the consequences of that. And I think in this case, I'm trying to reflect, in this case is one of the cases why Gideon's story is so popular. I think for me is because it goes into pretty good detail about how bad it got.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't even go out and sow their fields. Right. And it's not like we didn't have supermarkets back then. That was the only way they could eat. Right. And so there were so many of the Midianites that the term that's used, they were like grasshoppers. You know how grasshoppers come into a field, right?
It's just
from afar. It's like a cloud. And then when they come in, they just take everything they take. Felicia Singleton says, hold out. Yeah. Yeah, for real. Just total destruction. This is in our land. So we're in our land, but we're not in control of our land.
When you said supermarkets, Elder Jeffries, it made me think about like food, like there's food deserts now, right? Yeah. Which make us move out of the area.
Yeah.
So they tore up our food, the cattle, everything. So we were being forced to move into Gaza. Did I understand that right? We forced to go into Gaza so they were killing everything, making us move again, so they can keep
we were in the mountains. Yeah. So it was Gaza. It's speaking about, it wasn't just on one block or two blocks or whatever. It's giving you from Chicago to Mississippi. This is the whole range. They took over the whole land. As a matter of fact, if we go to the next slide, I kind of wanted to delve into that a little bit. And if you guys can see, the map on the left is an estimation of how the 12 tribes lands was distributed with Joshua when they came and took over the land. And this is a little closer to the area that we're going to be speaking about a little bit. So we see Manasseh. You see where Manasseh is, and you see the middle line right there. That's the Jordan River. Right in between where Manasseh is. That's the Jordan River, and Manasseh covers both of those. And as remember, when we came into the land, and we came in through, Egypt is the south down below, but we came in through the east, went around and went to the east, and when Reuben and Gad and Manasseh saw this land on this side of the Jordan, they were like, wow, this is some beautiful land. This is some of the best land that around here. We want this land, and we will go in and help establish all the other pieces of land for our brethren. But when we're done, we want to come back and claim this. And so this is where you have the king of Bashan and the king of God. Those wars that took place in the wilderness took place on that side of the Jordan. But all of that is a part of the promised land. And then right under there, you see Ephraim. So we know all around us, we talked about this before. You see where we have Ammon, right? The Ammonites. We have Moab and the Moabites. You see below that, we have Edom, right? You see the Philistines over on the east side. Well, the Midianites is even more south of that. Right? Couldn't get a big enough map to kind of show that. They're even south of that. The Midianites are between their land is between Egypt and here. If you remember when
coming out of Egypt,
when Moses, when he came out, he ran away. He ran away to the Midianites. He was in the Midianites. So it's sort of Egypt, the Midianites, and the Sinai Peninsula, around not far from Mount Sinai, and then you go north, and then you come to this area here. So the Midianites, number one, is a large group of people. Number two, they came all the way through the land, up from Moab, through Moab, Reuben, Gad, Manasseh, Ephraim, like all in that area is where they came. And again, took over that piece of land, right? Okay, I just want to give you a reference. And because we'll probably come back to this as we go through the battles to see how they traveled as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
All right, so let's go into the next slide.
You want me to read it?
Oh, you know what? I did want to say one thing. Let's finish this, then we come back to it. You can read, Shelby.
Verse 11. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under an oak, which was in Ophrah, that pertained to Joash the Azurite, and his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites.
I like that because it's so. I don't know. I like Gideon's response because it's so genuine.
Mm-hmm.
It is so genuine, right? We kind of talked about this the other day, where it's not like, "Hey, I'm going to go out here and go and serve a false god," or I mean, even the situation we find ourselves in today, right? It's it's hard to look and say, well, we should have been doing this, we should have been doing that, but we're here because our fathers put us here.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we're in that situation. So earnestly, I can see somebody saying, yeah, I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I don't know why this is happening to us. I don't know why. I don't know why the police are shooting us. Mm-hmm. I don't know why the world won't let us just be and just exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is a very honest, question, very honest statement. And again, we know, it's easy to look back on this chapter and say, what we should have been doing. But when you're in the midst of it, it's like you have no idea what's going on or why it's happening.
Right. Yeah. And those connections and how is that what's happening over here affecting this outcome over here?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And so, an angel comes and speaks to Gideon, and Gideon, is like, I've heard the stories, but I have not seen the miracles.
Right.
I've heard the stories, like he knew the stories. He was, but I haven't seen the miracles. Right. And so you can imagine he wants to believe it, but it's just hard to believe because what I see before my eyes, the condition that we're in, it don't look like God is with us anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
It can be a little disheartening at that time, probably. Yeah. He probably was real. That's real. Make you sad. Like, well, I'll hear about it. We used to be great, but look at us now. Like, look, we in the cave, peeking out. They're killing all our food. What's gonna happen? But we'll see what happens next.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you guys think about his response to like his first start? Like he's just honest. He's speaking about it.
Anger. It's just like
I know the stories, but I'm not seeing it. He has to hide to just try to get some
to live
in his family. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's anger, right? It's like, man, it's like, look, why is this happening to us?
yeah.
Why it reminds me of imagine 1620 going into the fields. And you know what I'm saying? Like again, to bring it to today, right? To really make it stick.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine going into chattel slavery, looking in the field, and you know what I'm saying, this situation is happening, and it's like, hey, you come and it's like, hey, I'm here with you, and it's like, man, look what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Look at this situation, and then you're like, how am I supposed to be happy?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to be, I guess just joyful? How am I really supposed to be joyful at this moment?
Right.
Because of the circumstance around me, right?
Or that reflection of like, we were once kings and queens. Like,
exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's
it's played out. It's like,
it's a good line, but
yeah,
that's not
I don't
really
see
something
it
that's here right now. Florence said, and feeling hopeless, nothing he can do to help, nowhere, and he don't think he even have the strength to do it. Yeah, I think exactly right. I think that's a part of it. It's that hopelessness. It's that like the problem looks so big, I can't unless God Israel intervenes. There's no way.
I think I felt like that when before I was introduced to Israel, you kind of felt helpless, like hopeless rather. Like I don't understand. Like we God's people, but we in this situation. Like why are we on the bottom? I think that's a question also that we get a lot when we trying to explain, or share Israel with some people. They still like, but why would he let us be on the bottom? Which they need to be watching this broadcast right now.
For sure.
Last three, right? But I think this is the feeling that we all had probably before,
And judges is that go-to that can show you exactly, right? It's not just about the prophecy of what will happen, because this was promised. This is not like where did this come from out of left field? From the very beginning, the covenant was established, the blessing and the curse. If you follow my statutes, laws, statutes, and commandments, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, you're going to be blessed. You're going to see it, not in every aspect of your life. And walking down the street, and your enemies can't stand against you, and raising your children, and your businesses, and your fields, and your health, all those various things. But now, if you turn away from my law, statute, commandments, it's just the opposite. All those things are going to, these enemies are going to come and stand over you. You're going to, be a borrower and never a lender. You're going to be sick with all these diseases. You're going to have all these things. The summary of this condition is here, but I want us to understand how it manifests itself in so many ways. How do you raise children in this condition? How do you become healthy in this condition? Imagine all the diseases and deaths that are happening with this. There's no clean water. There's no, you're not getting the right nutrition or the sunlight. It's a devastating piece. It's not just, the words we're seeing. We have to really get into it and see. In the same way how poverty manifests itself in so many ways and affecting us as a people now, imagine what it was doing then. There's no WIC back then, right? It's all that. Imagine all the miscarriages that happened because they couldn't get the right care. They could, you know what I'm saying? It's devastating. Felicia Singleton, but this isn't the first rotation of Israel being in captivity for doing evil after leaving Egypt. Correct. As I said, it's not. We've seen through cycles before, but I do think it does give a little bit more detail about what life is on the ground, and what that means. Just sometimes we hear words so much that we just kind of glaze over it. And they were oppressed. Okay, for 40 years. But I think we pause a second to understand. Hopefully, us can relate a bit because we're in this modern enslavement. Just coming out of 400. That we can relate a bit, but it's not just a one sentence thing. Jermaine Edwards says, with change comes chaos, and if we personalize it when trouble, sadness, hurt, or pain comes, it's easy for one to feel that way. This is why we need to understand how to call on when doubt steps in. Absolutely, strengthen ourselves. You have to find that. Yeah, sure,
100%. I think it. But going back to what you said, Jeffrey, to raise a child up in that manner, right, in that situation, again, this is a book of highlights. every single Israelite had no idea what was going on when it was happening.
Yeah.
Right. Unless this was a prophet and the prophet told someone, told so many people, and then, you get a better understanding. But if you're just living life and now you're being forced into a cave and you have a child that was growing up in that situation, you can see the balance in their head of, hey, we have a God that took us out of Egypt and we serve the greatest God there is. But you're looking around and you're saying, I don't see it. Like, I don't. Help me understand it, right? It's like, hey, we were given this land, right? Again, there is the context to say, well, we did evil, right? Mm-hmm. But what if you were one of those families that all your life you serve the God of Israel with your whole heart, mind, body, and spirit, but because the collective did wrong, you suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like this is that real, you know what I'm saying? Real conversation to have.
Yeah.
Just like you said, because we know, right? Hey, we know the evil that was done, right? Absolutely, the evil that was done. But if you're on the other side of that, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Right.
For real. And like you said, let's say raising that child, they see what's happening with this, but then they look from the cave and out, and they see all these other people
enjoying
thriving, right? They're thriving.
They got water,
and they're like, "Hey, come join us! Come join us!" There's a lot to it. I think Florence says this is such a good lesson tonight. Is in due season and in due time. Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, amen.
Really, just connect it to us today, which I don't think it's hard to do. I do have a question for everybody, and maybe it's but let me just ask it. So we went to the map. We kind of saw, Moab, Ammon. We saw, the Philistines, Edom, and then Midianites, right? Who are the Midianites? Where did they come from? And I'm gonna throw the question in the chat. We're gonna keep going, but I want whoever in the audience today, just chime in when answer that. Where does the Midianites come from? Who do they come from?
That's a good question.
All right, let's keep going then. So we're going to keep going, but we're just going to go because again, there's a lot of reading we're going to be doing tonight. So we didn't want to put it all up on the slides like that because there's a lot. We're still in chapter 6, and one of the questions talked about, I think it was Jermaine who spoke about, we gotta, I think in this type of condition where it looks hopeless, our physical can look hopeless, we do have to train ourselves how to be confident and how to be strong despite what we see, and I think Gideon is a good example of, here's someone who at the very, very beginning, that's probably number one, where he, there's doubt, first doubt, right? I don't know, that first of all, but the God of Israel is merciful to him and continually tries to encourage him and continually tries to strengthen his doubt and to give him confidence so he can build that. When we talking prepping for this one in particular, we were like, it's kind of interesting, right? Because it is a little unique. A lot of times, most of the time, when we see someone question the God of Israel, he usually gets frustrated.
Yeah, real quick.
Like Moses,
real quick.
Right? So he says, go speak to Pharaoh and let him know, let my people go. And he was like, yeah, but I stutter, I don't speak well, and you can imagine the tone where he's like, who made the mouth, right? Who made your mouth, right? I can, I think.
Like, do you know who this is talking to you right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Bush is talking to you right now. Can you imagine? Yeah. So, but with this, in this situation with Gideon, there seems to be, a merciful response every time that he expresses doubt. That's the first one. But let me jump to the next one. And again, still answer that question. Where does
I see the answer in the chat. Seafields.
See, Felicia Singleton said Hamite. No,
not exactly. Not exactly.
Yes. Seafields. They are from Abraham. Can you imagine that?
Yes.
They're from Abraham. That's right. Keturah. So, as you know, Sarah, beloved Sarah, when she passed away, Abraham at some point remarried and married Keturah. And Keturah, one of their children of that union, there's a few of them, but one of them was Midian. and that's the father of the Midianites. So we have a long history with Midian. Again, Moses had a good relationship, at least with that group, but a lot of times there's been a lot of problems along the way. But just to let you know that there is a connection there.
This is that's why I love the history. Abraham set the foundation for everything that Israel had to either do or deal with later on, right? And based on, look at it definitely from the Moabites to I forget what the other one starts with an A.
Ammon.
Yeah.
Ammonites. Yeah.
Ammonites.
From Lot.
Yeah, and all of that connection, right? It's like this is, and you can see how the things go the way it's supposed to go. How that connection would have been like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. That flips upside down. It's like, now it's a little bit different. Now it's a little strenuous.
Okay, so we're still in chapter 6. The first doubt was, I don't know, the God of Israel don't seem like he's here anymore. Right? Like, just the birth out of Egypt. We're here. I guess that part we can see, but right now it look like I think he abandoned us. Right, that was before. And in 14, the God of Israel reassures, no, you trust me, you will, save Israel out of the hands of the Midianite. And in 15, this is Gideon's response, and he said unto him, "Oh my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel?" It's like, okay, even if Israel is saved, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to do it. Okay. Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am least in my father's house. Right. So again, it's like,
I'm the youngest. What can I do?
Absolutely. And 16, he reassures him, and the Lord said unto him, surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. Again, just highlighting the doubts that he's expressing in himself. And I guess, in our comfortable positions where we are, we can look back and say, oh, what a terrible thing Gideon is doing. That's terrible. We should just go when the God of Israel tells you to go. We should. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
This is very realistic, I think.
No, it's. I think, and it shows the patience that the God of Israel has, knowing the situation they're in.
Right.
Knowing this isn't, and we kind of talked about it before. Even with the example of Moses. Moses didn't grow up like the other Israelites grew up. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit different of, different level of patience that may be there. Yeah. Versus this situation, it's like, hey, I know, man. I know. It's like a parent, taking a crying baby, rubbing it back, like, I know. Like, hey, this is tough. I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll be there with you.
I got you. Yeah. You jump down to 17, and he said unto him, if now, this is again a response, found grace in my sight, then show me a sign that thou talkest with me. Right? We talked about this a little earlier, Shelby, about asking God of Israel for a sign, right? And there are times when the God of Israel didn't take that too kindly.
Yeah, like he was offended. What you mean, show you a sign? Mm-hmm. and here he's like working with them, and I like that. That do show him mercy. It shows his mercy to be able. Okay, I'm going to use you. I don't believe you. Well, I'm going to use you though. I'm gonna show you. Come on, just do this one step at a time. And he even takes them and he gives them step by step too. Like,
sure.
Yeah, I like
we already got like what? There's like 3 pushbacks already, right? And he's ready. Right. Like, trust me, you're gonna do it. No, you're gonna do it. Trust me, you're gonna do it. And he's like, well, please, okay. Not that I don't believe you, but please give me a sign, something, just so I know. Whatever. And so 18, depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come thee and bring forth my present and set it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. And I'm in verse 19 now. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid and unleavened cakes, right? Unleavened cakes. And an ephah of flour and he put flesh in the basket. And he put the broth in the pot and brought it unto him under the oak and presented it. And the angel of God said unto him, take the flesh and unleavened cakes and lay them upon this rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. And the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the flesh and leavened cakes. And there rose up fire out of the rock and consumed the flesh and leavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight.
Wow.
Is that a sign? That's a sign, right?
Wow.
You think you'll like to eat like that? That's how they eat. That's how the heavenly hosts eat. The angel eats, he just touch it.
Yeah, that's it. It's gone. That was good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah,
just
yes.
I love it.
Absolutely, unleavened cakes, right?
Yeah,
man, the
Angel's food.
description though
Angel's
is
food.
just
Mhm.
he touched the flesh of the unleavened cakes. Like,
Yeah.
like the description is just it's so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
just like wow.
Yes. Yes. So, if this is just some fairy tale or some story, at this point you'll say, and that was it. And he went on and he conquered Midian and done. And
Went on his
he
way.
was confident. And Felicia says the angel's food.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes. It's sort of like the manna that we ate in the wilderness, right? Unleavened bread that we eat during Passover, right? So it's a lot of cultural connections here. But not. There's not. We're going to see, and there's little stories in between, but I just want to. I'm focusing on the doubts that come along, right? And so he jumped. I'm jumping down, and okay, I'm jumping down to 34. We're still in chapter 6, but I'm gonna jump down to 34, right? And the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezer was gathered after him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also was gathered after him. And he sent messengers unto Asher, unto Zebulun, unto Naphtali, and they came up to meet him, right? So he's a couple things happened. I'm just jumping over that. We may come back to that, but I want to get to this. So he's moving forward. He did have some confidence. He blew the horn, and people actually responded, right? And actually coming out to support him so that he can go and actually deliver Israel. But before he continues on, verse 36, and Gideon said unto God, if thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said. So again, we're like, and so even I am kind of like, okay, come on, man. Why?
Like again.
Yeah, I know, right, exactly. And it's like you're already committed. You blew the horn, right? So everybody's outside waiting for you to give the order and the command. They're ready to go, and now you're backpedaling a little bit,
Now you're internalizing and saying, I don't know. I need to see something else.
Yeah.
Right. The fire was nice, but I need to see something else.
Yeah. And and again, just the reality of the scriptures, and it's just a person's what they go through and emotionally and internally, going through that. Like again, we try to exercise ourselves to have confidence and to not have doubts. But I think it's a normal part of life. And I think standing back and say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's like, okay, I'm going to give a speech. And I'm going to write this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. You can prepare for it. You know what you're going to say. And when it's time to go and you're backstage, oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
It hits you. Wow, people are actually here. Oh, wow. Okay. It's like, whoa, get this cold sweat that comes over you. I'm imagining that's what's happening here. Like, he's has thousands of people that have answered the call, ready to go. And he has to lead. And he didn't ask for this job,
Yeah, it's like, what's the plan?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, exactly. And so he's like, I'll be right back. I need some more reassurance. But the God of Israel is patient with him. It like, the response is not like, upset or some punishment or anything like that. He's like, oh, okay, all right. And it's very interesting his request,
Right. Something that his request is something that it couldn't be a parlor trick. It's not something that you could just say. No one can go out and mimic his request. There's no way.
Right. Just to be clear. So it's almost like I want to make sure I'm not insane and I'm not just following some crazy voice in my head. You know what I mean? Like I need some reassurance.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you, Luncy, for your donation. Thank you so much in supporting the work that we're doing. Okay, so he asked for that, and in verse 38, and it was so. For he rose up early in the morrow and thrust the fleece together and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. But the ground was dry. So it was just what he asked for. That's exactly. So it's like, okay, he asked for a sign,
Mm-hmm.
He got the exact sign that he asked for. And again, if this was some make believe, it'd be like, okay, now we're done. It's good. He's going to go save Israel. But in verse 39, he says, and Gideon said unto God, let not thine anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew. So it's like, aren't you getting frustrated with Gideon right now? Be honest.
So he knows he's wrong. He knows this is irritating, right?
Right.
Please don't be angry. Please don't be angry.
Right.
But this last thing, I just want to ask one last thing.
Yeah.
You know what? It's almost like there's a part of him, a small part of him that hopes he's just insane.
Yeah.
And he just go back home and it's like as bad as our conditions are, we've learned to be comfortable with it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So that when when the God of Israel tries to pry us from our comfort zone, to move us in a positive direction, it's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be scary. It's going to be unfamiliar territory. And many of us, our natural instinct is to recoil. Our natural instinct is to be like, find excuses to try to maybe that's not really what I'm supposed to do, even though deep down this is the thing I'm supposed to do. Right. That's why I'm kind of focusing on this piece, on this aspect of it a bit, because I think here's something that I think hopefully we can glean from and help empower us, and feeling uncomfortable, feeling scared, feeling nervous, feeling doubtful are normal conditions, right? And I think going all the way back to what Jermaine said, I think a part of it is don't be surprised when those come up. Learn to build tools and a structure in place to help you persevere through it, because that's where we as a people have to go. That's the only way path forward, right? Yeah. None of us have done this before, right? None of us we're all sort of going by faith to a certain degree. And so we have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable in a way,
Oh, 100%. That's very true.
But so that's why I'm kind of focused on that. But again, any thoughts on that?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, just learning, like, we do have to be uncomfortable. I can remember first sitting here to have this going on.
That's right.
How uncomfortable I was. Ben said, hey, you want to do a Friday night? What? No, I just really, I guess so. And, you sweating and you pulling back, and I'm at home and I'm asking, is it really, should I do this? Like, am I ready? Like, even if you're not ready, you're going to get ready, because he's going to take care of you to make sure you're ready.
Right.
So,
exactly. Right. I think that's the key point there, right? Being comfortable with being uncomfortable, but also knowing that we have the right source to take us through regardless of what the outcome is, right? We know, like the time we live in, right? We do things knowing that the God of Israel, will have some layer of protection for us, or will make a way for us as long as we do our part.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine having a representative of the God of Israel tell you directly, hey, don't worry, we got you.
Right.
Like, that's reassurance on a level. Again, for the job assignment, it has to be that way.
Right. Yes.
So if we had to go against a whole country, it's like, hey, I'm confident, but I definitely need some reassurance to know that this is the right plan, and this is the right way to go. But it again, right? Like a true parent taking care of his children, right?
Yes.
It's like, hey, don't worry. I'm not gonna leave you. I'm not gonna leave you be. I'm not gonna hang you out to dry. Yeah. But I'm gonna show you something.
Right. You got to take those steps of faith, though, right? You got to take those steps of faith, and again, so don't forget, Gideon is no slouch. This is the judge. This is the next judge of Israel. So he's not like low on the totem pole and whatever. It's like you said. It's I think it's to some degree a normal process, but he's being developed. So let's go on to chapter 7, right? And in chapter 7 and in a prior, from the verses prior, we see He has his name Gideon, but he also has another name he's referred by, Jerubbaal, and that's because he tore down the altar of Baal in one of his first things that he was told to do, and so he kind of got that name from his father. That was earlier in chapter 6. But I'm going to start at verse 1. Chapter 7, verse 1. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people that were with him rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Moriah in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, mine own hand have saved me. Let's just pause there a second. And what does this tell us about the characteristic of the God of Israel and the characteristic of us? What does it tell us about us?
It goes hand in hand, right? The God of Israel is like, hey, you're not going to give anybody else my celebration, my joy. It's funny. Let's go a quick sidebar. I think about that every time somebody says the devil did it or Satan did it. Think about it all the time. Like, why do you keep giving away the God of Israel's credit? I don't care how bad you think it is. That is the God of Israel's credit. Accept that credit. But on the flip side, it lets you know that we are truly his children.
Yes.
That if we do it, we're going to give ourselves the credit.
Yes.
And say, hey,
yes,
it is by our numbers are we able to come together and rise up and defeat them.
Yeah. I think the term that comes to mind is that term in sports. I guess I think it's football specifically. Any given Sunday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What does that term mean? Any given Sunday.
Anything can happen. No matter how big and powerful and strong your opponent may look, on any given day, you can be victorious.
Yeah, you got one team here, you got one team there. Like, I mean, maybe you just the favorite, and they should win most of the time. But hey, the other one could win sometime. Underdog could win sometime too.
Exactly.
And so you can imagine that we would definitely then not necessarily put it together. That the God of Israel is.
It speaks to how well he knows us too. Like, he just knows, like, no, they're gonna take all the credit. Right. Let me intervene. And I like that because it shows the truth how we feel. You know, even that's something that's in us. If we give somebody some help or something, sometimes you be like, man, wait, you don't take all the credit. Let me help you. So yeah, I like that.
Okay. And the Lord said unto Gideon, on verse 3. I'm in chapter 7, verse 3. Now therefore go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead, and there return of the people 20 and 2,000, and there remained 10,000.
This is the part that made me laugh, right? Because one hand, I appreciate it. Hey, if you're afraid, don't be here. Or on the other hand, I would want you there anyway. Right. I do not want somebody watching my back who is like just absolutely fearful.
Right. They may just turn and run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So logically, it makes so much sense. Logically, when you hear when you see the command, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Why would we need them there?
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess, again, someone mentioned the word strategy. It's also numbers. Don't forget, there's a lot more than 10,000 or 20,000 Midianites. There's like hundreds of thousands of Midianites. You know? And so sometimes you want to I just need some fillers. I need some just to look like we have a lot. So not, so they can serve a purpose to some degree. But it is interesting that, again, we'll just let you know, again, these are not slouches. These are not, they're not, these are people who've gone through such a devastating time that even when it comes to stand up to fight for the freedom of your people, you're scared because of what devastating. I mean, I'm looking forward to the writers and to the movie producers to make these stories so we can kind of gleam into some of this horrific events that took place that took away our confidence.
Yeah.
Right? Took away our confidence as a people. Can't imagine themselves winning against these people. And that's a terrible place to be. Cephas says battles are not won by how strong they may look, but how bad you want the victory. 100%. And in this case, specifically, only only if the God of Israel intervenes and fight for us. That's how stacked this really is. So hopefully you guys are getting that. All right. Verse 4, and the Lord said unto Gideon, to the down to 10,000, the people are yet too many. Bring them down into the water, and I will try them for thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say of thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. So we know this, right? We've gone through this before. We've read this story. It's like even the children's story about this. And this is when we get to what number? What's the number? Magic number we get to?
300.
300. I know there's a movie made. They took our story in a way and then tried to make a different story.
The audacity.
We need our writers and our producers and our film makers to make our own movies. But so we got it. So just again, we had what 30-something thousand prior, and now we're down to 300. That's an amazing thing against hundreds of thousands of Midianites.
I want to bring up a point that's important too, where he says, and I will try them for you. So he's still doing things for Jeroboam at this time. Like even from when he was trying them, in the beginning, he's still doing things for him. He's still, here, I got you. Don't worry about it. You don't know how many people I need you to win this victory. So I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Just take him down to the river and let him drink water. Still, he's still doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. That's right. He's holding his hand all along the way, right? Mm-hmm. So they're down to 300. He's still moving forward. And when still in chapter 7, let's jump down to verse 9. All the others went back to the tent. That would be something, right? I mean, to me, to be honest, even if I was scared or whatever, I would feel like bad.
Yeah.
Back. Mm-hmm. And I think a part of
shameful. It's just shameful, because
right?
At one point, right? Well, Israel isn't to this point, but to represent your tribe, to go and do battle was a great honor. Like this wasn't just like, hey, you're a young man, come and represent. The elders would be there. This would be yes, you will go and represent us. You will go, like the whole nation is literally behind you.
Yes.
And if they see you coming back, it's like, hey man, where you going? What are you doing?
Yes. But it's interesting, right? It's to a point you made earlier, was everybody didn't see the angel. Everybody didn't hear the voice of God. Right? It wasn't like Mount Sinai where they saw the voice of God. This is what you guys are going to do. There's one guy, Gideon, the least in his house, from the tribe of Manasseh, poor, not even one of the elders in the thing, who's doing this, who's calling these people together. There's just a lot of links in that chain where someone could,
yeah.
I think he said the guy was called him. I believe him. I'm not doubting him, but it's not the same as if I heard it. You know what I'm saying? It's like someone else heard it, and now he's coming to get me. It's so.
No, that's an excellent point, because when you think about Korah and Moses, you saw the Red Sea.
Yeah.
You saw the cloudy pillar and you saw these things, and yet they still did what they did.
Right.
Versus, man, we just living bad. And here's this guy, and hey, it's like, hey, anybody know him? Who is that?
Right. Yeah. Right.
And now it makes sense why some of them 20,000 turned around and went back first, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can go back. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know, right? That was easy.
This would have been easy. This would have been easy, right? And again, right, we understand with disobedience and everything that it entails, but it would have been easy to be disobedient at this point. It would have been easy to say, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's not going to work.
Right.
You're going to make things worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But in this case, it really shows just how desolate of a situation we truly are.
Desolate and beaten down.
Yeah.
Beaten down, right? Beaten down to the point of submission, right? Xavier Brown, the God of Israel is strategizing with the test at the waters. These men were not warriors, but willing men the God of Israel could use. his minority is majority in winning the battle. That's right. I'm going to go back to some of the other minutes. Felicia said, me plus the God of Israel makes a majority. I like that. I like that. That's right. Yeah, I always hate that word minority. I hate that word minority. I try not to use that word because that's Brian says your conscience would bother you entirely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you're thinking like, man, they're going out to war, and I'm like, I'm going back here with the women and children in the cave. I'm going back to the cave. Yeah. Man. But again, we're sitting comfortably in our homes with our remote TV and
exactly.
Car, talking about
with our AC on.
We would do in those situations. Yeah. It's not as easy as that. But hopefully we can learn from that and understand, that the God of Israel would save them and preserve them. He would do the same for us.
Right.
Because we are their children. All right. So he has his 300, and you think like after everything that's taken place that, we're pretty much done. And I got to Gideon's credit, he does not ask for another sign. But the love of the God of Israel and knowing us better than we know ourselves. Let's jump to verse 9. All the people went home. It's Gideon and the 300 the night before the battle. Again, against these grasshoppers, against these just hundreds of thousands of people. And verse 9, and it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, this unto Gideon, arise, get thee down into the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. In other words, now's the time. Right? Yeah. Now's the time. Go. 10. Here's the God of Israel speaking. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Phurah, thy servant, down to the host. Right? So the God of Israel, again, he's putting that little disclaimer there. It's like, I know.
I got you.
Yeah. I know.
Right.
Yeah. 11. And thou shalt hear what they say, and afterward shall thy hands be strengthened to go down into the host. Then he went down with Phurah, his servant, into the outside of the armed men that were in the host. You can understand what's going on, right?
Right.
He's just kind of sneaking down, just to kind of mingle a little bit into the
trying to hear the conversations and
for sure.
But he did take him with him. Phurah.
Servant. Yeah. You gotta get some backup just in case.
He said if
right.
Hey, I'm not going. Who am I to say no?
Right. And again, thank you, Florence, for your donation. Thank you very much. And so the question was, go down, go take him now. Now's the time to deliver. But if you're fearful, so I guess he didn't respond, but he responded with his actions. He's like, I'm a little fearful.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So verse 12, and the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers. I just want you to visualize that. You have 300 people, men, and right, for multitude, and the camels were without number. Can you see that in your head?
Jeez.
How is 300 people going to do this?
I'm imagining the valley of all of them laying down with the setup. Jeez.
Yeah. The movie The 300 does show some of that. Like that would be awesome if we redid it. Yeah.
Without number, as the sand by the seaside for multitude, as far as the eye can see. Yeah. Tell me you're not going to be scared when you see that.
Oh man,
I'm sorry.
Imagine going to the beach. You go to the beach and you look and you see sand. You're like, oh, that's a lot of sand. Or you really like, this is people.
Yeah. Maybe it says the God of Israel is giving Gideon plan B. No, it's not really a plan B. It's just you'll see.
An eventual part of the process.
Yeah. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came into a tent, and smote it, and it fell, and overturned it, and the tent lay along. Right? And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. For into his hand has God delivered Midian and all the host.
Wow.
This is Midianites and Amalekites. These are people from the east. These are people outside who've come and has ruled over in our land and pushed us into the caves. These are the warriors. These are the soldiers. And one person has a dream. Now, not as much, I think, but we, more so now. But dreams are important. Dreams really mean something. They're not usually just just crazy stuff. And so he's telling it, and it must have really bothered him when he had that dream. He didn't know, and he's telling it to someone, and it just so happens. I'll say just so happens in quotes. It just so happens Gideon's there to overhear this dream. Right. But to me, what's amazing is these are not Israelites.
No,
they're not friends. These don't have any connection to us in that sense. But one of them, when he heard the dream, he was like, "Oh, it's clear what that is. It's clear what that is. That's Gideon. Gideon is actually going to come and smite Midian." And as Gideon and the 20,000 and the some odd thousand are scared and fearful against this big, huge multitude, and physically, with physical eyes, you understand why. Yet and still, people know who we are. People know our reputation. People know, people. We are not aware we're capable of it, but a lot of times people around us do, even more than we do. And here you are, people who are outside, no connection to God of Israel, having this like, wow, that's Gideon. He's going to, how could someone that's in millions of people look at one or two people and think like, oh wow, he's going to come and kill us? They know who we are.
Right.
Man, I love this. Like you said, the emphasis, you overheard this, think about the confidence booster. Whatever doubt and fear you had now is completely removed.
Oh yeah. Right. If we see the trajectory of Gideon's life, there is never a doubt again. Verse 15, and it was so when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof that he worshipped. Think about that. He worshipped. Something clicked in him at that moment when he heard it. And it's interesting. It came through the words of strangers. It came from the words of enemies. I caused rock to calm on fire and consume food. I caused the fleece to go, wet when the land was dry, and all those things that I did. But it was when these strangers uttered these words that somehow that pricked something within me, that to allow me then to see truly myself, who I am, and my connection to my God. It's I don't know. It's, to me, I think it's an amazing transformation that we see with Gideon.
Oh yeah, it goes to the you know what? I can't even use that. I was going to say sometimes others see what we don't see, but not in this case though. This isn't in that case. This is like you said, it's a case of all these things coming together, right? And in the wisdom of the God of Israel to know, like, oh, don't worry. It goes back to the beginning. No, you're gonna deliver Israel. Don't worry about it. I know we are now, but you're gonna get to that point, like you said. I'm gonna train you up and build you to the point to where when it does happen, it reminds me so much of when you're praying and you're going through things, and it's like it seems like it's up, it's so big and it's so overwhelming, and then when you get an answer, it's like, oh, did it? Was I really like that?
Yeah, I know. Oh, why did I? Right, exactly. You can't even describe that feeling. Exactly, when you've overcome the what in your mind is perceived as the undoable. And when you overcome those things, it's I don't know. It's like no other feeling. Knowing that it was only the God of Israel that can allow you to get to that point, because in your own mind you had all these other things going on. What a journey, right? What a journey in building that relationship with the God of Israel.
Oh man.
Yeah. So at this point, I just love it. I got to read it because I just love it. And I'm reading it again at 15. And it was so when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof that he worshipped. Think about that. Think about him. Oh my goodness, God of Israel. Oh, for your mercy endureth forever. Oh, just imagine what he's singing and what he's hopping for joy, right? Imagine how much energy is coming out of him, right?
He was dancing like David, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that energy? Imagine that energy. And to the point, he returned unto the host of Israel, the 300, and said, "Arise!" Imagine him. Arise! It's time. For the Lord has delivered into your hand the host of Midian. Total different tone compared to a few verses ago.
Exactly.
I got this. I got this. Yes.
I look like,
yes,
is he
yes,
okay?
Yeah. For fire. He's ready. He is ready now.
He's fired up.
Yeah, for real. And he's firing up the other 300, right?
We ready.
That's funny.
It's good.
That is. No, it's because you get to a point where, and again, man, you see the words jump off the page, like you said, the excitement, the joy, the overwhelming joy, to be like, yes, going all the way back to the beginning, right? I don't see these miracles. Like, what look at the situation we're in.
Right.
To now be in this situation and say, absolutely, I can't wait to go.
Yeah.
Don't hold us back. Hey guys, get up,
right.
Let's go.
Let's go. He's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready now. We're ready now. So again, we're going to jump on, but so I love going through that journey from doubt, unsure, be sure God is with us to, and so you can kind of read through and see how the 300, how he strategized and organized them and went by surprise and actually disrupted that whole camp, that whole sea side, right? All those hundreds of thousands of people, killed them and then had them on the run. If you read the rest of chapter 7, had them on the run. Let's see, let me jump down. And so they had them on the run so that he's clearing them out and he's actually chasing them out of the land of Israel, right? We're jumping down to verse 24, right? And Gideon sent messengers throughout all Mount Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and take before them the waters unto Bethbarah and Jordan." Then all the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together and took the waters of Bethbarah and Jordan. And they took 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb, and they slew Oreb and Zeb upon the rock. Oreb and Zeb they slew at the winepress of Zeb, and pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of Jordan. Right? So that's 2 of them that they got. He called
my kind of people.
Yeah, exactly. So again, this is 300 chasing these hundreds of thousands of Midianites out with their camels and everything, right? And 300 are chasing them down. And so as they're chasing them down, he's calling ahead to Ephraim because they're going back to, reinforce themselves back into their land, and they're headed towards the Jordan. And he calls out to Ephraim and says, hey, they actually had split. They had the princes went this way and the kings of Midian went this way. Go take care of the princes, and I'm going to keep following after the kings.
Right.
So that's what happened. So he calls and Ephraim done. Ephraim gets the princes, cut off their heads, and then brings them to Gideon and say, "Yeah, we got them. Right." Okay, and so let's jump to. We're going to jump to chapter 8. And so Gideon is still chasing after the kings of Midian. Chapter 8, verse 4. And Gideon came to Jordan and passed over, he and the 300 men that were with him, faint, yet still pursuing them. And he said unto the men of Succoth, "Give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the people that follow me, for they be faint, and I am pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, kings of Midian." And the princes of Succoth said, "Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thy hand, that we should give bread unto thine army?" And Gideon said, "Therefore, when the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna mine hand, then I will tear your flesh with thorns of the wilderness and with briars." So what's, just to summarize, because I know sometimes people get lost in the language. What? Give me a little summary of what's going on now.
He basically came to Succoth and he let them know, "Hey, we in pursuit. We're about to catch these guys, but our men need help. We coming across. We need some bread. We need some victuals. We need to boost back up, but they're not willing to help at this moment." Basically, because they're saying, "You don't already have them. We're not helping you," right?
Okay, all right, and then go ahead, Minister Anthony.
No, they just like, hey, I want nothing to do with this until I know for a fact. And Gideon's like, hey, I tell you what, you don't want to give us bread? You want to do this? Just know that when I come back, you got a beating coming.
Right.
When this is done, you have a beating coming, right? You're going through the land, you see your brother, and they're like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's happening? You with us, right?
Right.
We're supposed to all be together. And they kind of like, hey, you know what, man? We live kind of down here where they at, and and we can't really get involved in that right now. We don't want to kind of have to go and do all these things. And hey, Gideon's response is a just response.
And he's the same things happen to the next town he comes to as well. Verse 8, he went up thence to Peniel and spake unto them likewise. The men of Peniel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered him. And so, producer, if we can go back to the map, I kind of want to show you guys. Go back to the map in the presentation. I think it was like slide number 3 or something, if you could, really quick. To show. Okay. So you can't see, it's not zoomed up very much, but you know where the Jordan is, right? You see up by Issachar? That's where Gideon was when he first started the battle, in the northern part of Manasseh, right? That's where they sort of started. And that's why when he said he called Zebulun, he called Issachar, he called all those northern tribes to come and help when he was first blew the horn, right? Because he was in the northern part of Manasseh. Now, I told you already that the Midianites are in the southern part, even off of the map. So they're headed south, and they're headed to cross over to the other side of the Jordan. So when he crossed over side of the Jordan, those two cities, Succoth and Peniel, are on that side of the Jordan, like over there by where Gad. Is it on there? They can't see it; it's too small. But by Gad and that area, right? It's on that side of the Jordan. So one of the things to just think about is, to us it just seems like a river, but it's a big distinction between these two areas. They're all part of Israel, but remember when Reuben took that land and the other tribes are like, hey, we want to make sure that we know we're connected, although we're so far apart by this huge river. Similar thing where if they were like grasshoppers in Manasseh, imagine how much control they had over in that land.
Yeah.
And if they are seen helping and Gideon's not successful, who's going to get repercussions first? Who's the first ones that are going to come back?
They're right. You're at the border. You're right there at the border.
You're right there at the border. Exactly, for sure. So I just want to throw it out there to kind of give some preference, some perspective on that. But let's keep going really quick. Let's see.
Stop at verse 8.
Start verse 8. Okay. So so he continued on. Both of those cities said, no, I'm not going to help. 10. Now Zebah and Zona were in Kakor, and their host with them about 15,000 men, all that were left of all the hosts of the children of the east, for there fell 120,000 men that drew the sword. So it was like 135,000 or so men against 300. 120,000 men. That's like how many men? Can do the math. How many men did each person have
to one? Yeah, to one. Yeah.
So because of time, just jump through it. So obviously Gideon is successful, right, with the God of Israel, and it's no doubt 300 against 150 some odd warriors. Obviously it's not any given Sunday, right? That's a miraculous thing, and the God of Israel was definitely made it clear that this could only happen through the God of Israel. And so he went ahead and he was successful. He ended up killing the kings. He ended up making good on his promise. He came back into those cities and he sat with the kings in chains and said, here they are. And you see, you didn't help me. And he actually did go get some thorns and some briars, and actually he did whip them. And so it was it's a funny story. So after that, Israel is like, wow, definitely the God of Israel was Gideon, and please be a king over us. They actually ask him. They ask him to be a king over us, And he says, no. He says, no, the God of Israel is the king. I will not be your king. But if you want to pay me, give me all the gold that came out of the Midianites' ears. Yes. C. Bubba says, with just a handful of men plus the God of Israel. For sure, absolutely. The God of Israel. Want to make it clear that he was one delivering them. And again, this was, a part of it was, not just getting out of captivity, but also reestablishing the culture of Israel.
Yes.
Establishing the culture of Israel.
Yes. It's like the story of the Egyptians all over. I have to show you guys.
Yes.
And take down those who are directly over you for you guys to know who's the one really in control.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I'm going to jump down then in verse 24. This is when he makes that request. I'm in, again, chapter 8, verse 24. And Gideon said unto them, I would desire request you. Before 23, and Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you, the Lord shall rule over you. And Gideon said unto them, I would require a request of you, that ye would give me every man the earrings of his prey, for they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. And they answered, we will willingly give them. And they spread a garment and did cast every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the gold earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold. Ornaments, and so he was a crazy man. Okay. 28. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more, and the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. And Jerubbaal, who was Gideon, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house, and Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. Right. So we've always, we talk about judges. We're supposed to focus on the enslavement. And we focus on the judge who actually was, utilized to not just free us from captivity, but restore the culture of Israel to us. Understand why we're enslaved. And then, but there are, as you're reading through this, we're like, well, again, there are moments of peace. And can you imagine going from the caves to you're free.
Lavish.
You're free. You now can do what you need to do. Imagine the joy and the feast that you're going to be having in order to celebrate the God of Israel. C. Phil says, correction, that's about 500 for each man. That's a lot of work.
I think it's good to note that what we just went through, we watched the build up of Gideon from not believing to now they're wanting to make him king, and he's like, no. The Lord, he is king over you. I think that whole buildup is awesome just to see where he went from absolute probably or having no faith, wasn't sure, to now he's totally all for the God of Israel, and he's just letting them know, no, the Lord is the king. Yeah, I like that. That's their buildup.
And I think it's one of those things. I think about that, even in raising children, that at some point, Israel can't be your parents' religion, right? It's just pops in my head, right? They have to have their experiences, right? Because there's nobody that can go knock on Gideon's door and have a conversation or debate about Israel with right. I mean, I've seen it, I've done it, I've been. I mean, this is it's not. I'm not just telling the story of Abraham. I'm telling my story in the God of Israel. Right. And the goal in a way is for all of us to sort of get to a point where we have our stories. We have our mountains that had to be moved. We had our millions of people who were trying to, come against us. And somehow, despite all the odds, my God was heard my prayer, and it was clear. It wasn't just any given Sunday. It was like, you don't understand. If the God of Israel didn't intervene, this was going to go a totally different way. You know what I mean? I mean, you need to have that experience, like Gideon, and it may not come overnight. It may take more than one, before it clicks. But that's the goal, is to have that, to really build the confidence in this culture and in this relationship. And we see that it's not just him, but the whole nation. We're following Gideon because he's so good. God of Israel is with him. And I'm jumping down to 32. And Gideon and the son of Joash died at a good old age. and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash's father in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again and went to whoring after Balaam and made Baalberith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Israel.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry to end like that, but but that's the reality of us, unfortunately. But just take it back a second. It just shows how much power and strength that he did have during his life, and that he was able to help keep this nation on the right track. Not just the battle, but all the good old age that he was able to judge Israel all that time and keep us on the right path while he did the best he could. And of course, it's up to us to carry it on, after he passed. But he didn't do that, unfortunately. It goes back to that first slide, right? There's that cycle again. But Gideon did his part. Like you said, Shelby, it didn't start that way. He didn't ask for the job. He was, some may say, I'm not sure I would pick him for the job either, but the guy doesn't know what he's doing. And he just had to work with him a bit to build that confidence. But once he got it, you guys can see that when the light bulb went off, it's a totally different story now. You have a different person almost. It's a beautiful thing to go. I love the story of Gideon. It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, no, I'm 1,000%, 1,000,000% with you. It reminds me of it's just how rich and historic our culture is, and like you said, it's our own personal story that drives us, our own personal because it's unique to us.
Yes.
Well, let me take that back. It's unique to outsiders, but to us, it's a familiar story.
Yeah.
Even in our own personal lives, right? I had this issue. Oh, you too? You had the issue too?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, it's a connection, but to the outside world, it's like, that's crazy. What is that? Why would that go on? How would that happen?
Yes.
And in this case, I can imagine 300 dedicated soldiers going back to their home to give praise to the God of Israel.
Yes.
And saying, hey guys, no, this is like, you guys have got to hear this. We got to see this. What we did, it started out as this number, and we went down. I saw men leave and go home. Matter of fact, hey, there he is right there walking across the way,
Yeah.
And you have that story to tell, like peace for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Again, right? We talk about this a lot, but the concept of peace is so unimaginable living in the world we live in.
I know.
It's unheard of. Like, what does that look like?
Yes.
What does that feel like to actually have complete peace?
Yes.
So that the land is prosperous, your thoughts are pure, right? You're not dreading getting up and going to go do this or going to go do that. You have complete peace.
Yes.
And this is a person, hey, we can go and talk to, we can go in and it's truly sad because of almost the narrative is almost if Israel is not in trouble, then the mindset won't be right.
Right. I don't. I almost don't want to say that because I don't want that to try. Like, let's not let that be true. Let's try to make it.
Let's do something different. Right? Yeah.
Yes. Felicia Singleton said it's like they were waiting for him to die to start tripping. I know. I was like, it was like almost too good. But they were, So that it was a beautiful time to be alive at that transition. Can you imagine? Like you said, the children, from that stage to this one, to like, wow, I can tell you a story. I remember when we lived in caves, and now look at us, we're thriving. Things are just God was blessing us. Our crops are just multiplying. Everything is just working out well, and the enemies have no danger of enemies at all, and I can develop my boys and my girls and myself, and I can just study and really reflect, on who I am and who our God is, and worship Him in spirit and truth without any distractions whatsoever. You know what I mean? I just, it's
like, man, like I feel like any thought that I have will not do it justice.
Right, exactly. Yeah, to really, and so in a similar fashion, how that oppression just manifests itself in so many ways. Imagine our health. Imagine our, just our economy. Imagine our, infrastructure. Imagine our, just everything you can think of. Our education institutions, our, all those the babies just being born in abundance and healthy and strong, and no one dying of these crazy diseases. And it's just, where we can. We're treasuring our youth, and we're treasuring our elders, and we're it's just just those. I would love to just really experience that, as we come out of the 400, right, and out of these 400 and ourselves or our children, But anyway, I love this. I was really laughing because we were hopeful to get to at least two other stories kind of related to this one. Probably will take another 20 minutes or so, but we're at time. But anyway, that just means you gotta chime in next time if you want to see, because there's a continuation of Gideon's story. And don't read ahead. Wait till next time, so we can talk a little bit more about that, because it's pretty interesting as well. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us on Friday Night Bible Study. Please share this. Continue to donate, and we really want to make sure that we spread this so that people can have a clear understanding of what it means to be in Israel, more understanding of the God of Israel, and how our past even connects with our present and our future. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Peace, Minister Anthony. Peace, Shelby. Have a good night.